The groom, Paul Nevada Smith, was in a state of panic. No one ever called him Paul, it was always Nevada. The origin of the nickname baffled him since he was born in Colorado. One of the frazzled bridesmaids had just informed him that his soon-to-be wife, Anna Campbell, was having second thoughts and wanted to talk. With less than an hour until they were supposed to exchange vows, his stress levels skyrocketed. As he sprinted towards the back of the Cornerstone Community Church, which was rapidly filling with family and friends, he spotted Anna. She was surrounded by her anxious bridesmaids, sitting on a small stone bench, crying uncontrollably. The moment he approached, the bridesmaids silently dispersed, leaving the couple alone. "Anna, sweetheart, what's going on? Everyone is inside waiting for us. What's wrong?" He assumed it was a case of pre-wedding jitters, and that they could swiftly resolve whatever was troubling her so they could proceed with the ceremony. But it wasn't that simple. "Oh, Nevada, I don't know if I'm ready for this." "Well, honey, no one is ever truly ready for marriage. Your nerves are perfectly normal." "It's not just nerves. I'm only 18 years old. I'm not sure I can be with one man for the rest of my life. That could be 60 years. Her words stunned him. He sat down beside her, exasperated. Though he was only 23, his friends often teased him about their age difference, calling him a cradle robber. Despite the teasing, he never doubted their love or her maturity. "Honey, I was never with anyone before I met you. Now we're supposed to be together forever. I'm not sure I can handle that. Do you understand?" He didn't understand, and with now less than 30 minutes before the ceremony, his thoughts turned to the logistics of canceling everything. Anna's parents had spent over $25,000 on the wedding, and his entire family had traveled 2,000 miles to be there. He held her, her tears soaking through his black Brooks Bras tuxedo. For more than 15 minutes, he pleaded and cajoled her, but nothing worked. The more he tried to calm her down, the more hysterical she became. As time slipped away, half joking and half out of frustration, he blurted, "If this is about commitment, what if I gave you a one-time marital hall pass?" Anna's tears stopped abruptly, and she asked, "What is that?" "You know, a one-time exception to the marital fidelity clause." "Really? You would do that?" Sure, baby. We can discuss it more later, but right now, let's go get married." With that, he led Anna towards the church and their future together. He chuckled inwardly at the thought that her father would someday thank him for saving all that money. Amid the whirlwind of the wedding, reception, honeymoon, and starting their new life, they never revisited the conversation. 21 years later, Nevada Smith lay contentedly on the outdoor patio bed they had bought a few years back, marveling at how quickly time had passed. All three of their children were teenagers now, with the eldest, Scarlett, set to attend college in the fall. Both Nevada and Anna had reasonably successful careers and were even making earnest plans for retirement, which they hoped to achieve within 15 years. Though they had always envisioned an early retirement, life's expenses, kids, a mortgage, and a myriad of other needs had taken precedence. Now they felt confident about meeting their retirement goals. Life was good, and Nevada believed the best was yet to come. However, there was one concern: Anna's upcoming 40th birthday. She was less than 2 months away from this milestone, and it worried her immensely. Nevada understood her anxiety. Turning 40 had been traumatic for him as well. He had survived the ordeal and had come to appreciate the perspective that aging brought. He was comfortable with his life choices and eagerly anticipated the future. He watched Anna approaching with their refilled wine glasses. They cherished the patio bed, often spending warm Southern California nights there making love when the kids were away. Anna handed him his glass gently and seated herself on the canopy bed, staring into the garnet-colored liquid. "You're thinking about it again, aren't you?" Nevada asked softly. "Yes, Nevada. It seems it's all I can think about these days." She sighed heavily, a tear forming in the corner of her deep, chocolate-brown eyes, the eyes that made him fall in love with her from the first moment he looked into them. Nevada spoke with compassion. "I hate seeing you like this, honey. Please, tell me what I can do to help. Like I've said before, we can have the biggest party of your life or ignore your birthday completely, whichever you prefer. Just tell me what you want. Anna reclined against a mound of multicolored pillows at the head of the bed, her gaze locking directly with Nevada's. Actually, I think I know what I want for my birthday, Nevada. I've been mulling it over a lot lately. I want to use my hall pass. A heavy silence followed, lasting only a minute but feeling like an eternity to Nevada. His initial instinct was to feign ignorance about what a hall pass was, followed by pretending he had never granted one. But he knew better. Anna, you can't be serious. You must be joking. Calmly, she placed her wine glass into the cup holder built into the wraparound headboard. I'm absolutely serious, Paul. I am going to use the hall pass you promised me on our wedding day. Are you going to renege on your promise? Shit, 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 Nevada thought silently. Anna, I remember my promise, but I also remember the context. Haven't I earned your fidelity over the past 21 years? Haven't I proven my love and devotion to you and our family? You are a wonderful husband and father, and I am fortunate to have your love. But this isn't about you. It's about me, about what I need to feel attractive and desirable. But you already are incredibly attractive and desirable to me. Always have been. How many couples married over 20 years still make love 3 to 4 times a week? Please don't insult me by saying I find you attractive only because I have to. And for damn sure, I'm not making love to you out of obligation. Why now? After 21 years, the reason I gave you the hall pass, besides your cold feet 30 minutes before the wedding, was because you worried about being monogamous for life. A glaring question suddenly hit Nevada, one he hadn't considered before. Look me in the eyes, Anna, and tell me you've been faithful all these years. Without hesitation, Anna met his gaze and said emphatically, Nevada, I'm insulted that you would even ask, but no, I have never been unfaithful. I've never done anything that wouldn't pass the husband test. You've hurt my feelings. Well, excuse the hell out of me for asking, but you're planning to cheat on me, so I thought it was a fair question. It won't be cheating, sweetheart, because you'll know about it. Anna, have you lost your mind? Just because you tell me you're going to make love with another man doesn't mean it isn't cheating. You get that right? He was incredulous. Listen, let's table this for now because, Nevada, must you be so vulgar? Anna, what you're suggesting is what's vulgar. As I was trying to explain, the hall pass was originally granted under very different circumstances. She began to protest, but he silenced her with a wave of his hand. You've shown unwavering fidelity for 21 years. Why can't you continue for another 21? Something else is going on here, and I deserve the truth. Don't I at least deserve that? Anna hesitated for a moment, her determination unshaken. Okay, Nevada, but before I delve deeper, understand that this has nothing to do with you. It's all about me. Do you believe that? I believe that's what you think, but how can you claim destroying our marriage has nothing to do with me? Oh, honey, I'm not destroying our marriage. We will be fine. This is just something I feel I need to do for myself. Why can't you understand that? Anna, listen to me carefully. If you go through with this, we will be divorced shortly after. She waved her hand dismissively. Stop being so melodramatic, Nevada. You're not going to divorce me. Anna, I'm seriously considering filing for divorce just because you brought this up. And I absolutely will if you go through with this insanity. I was hoping we could handle this like adults, but Nevada, I consulted a family law attorney before discussing this with you. Do you realize what your life would be like in a divorce? Nevada's jaw dropped, and he felt nauseous. Fighting back the bile rising in his throat, he asked incredulously, Are you seriously threatening to take my family away if I don't agree to this? Of course not, honey. I'm just laying out the facts. I would get custody of the kids and the house until Kevin turns 18. You pay child support and alimony for about 10 years because you make so much more than I do. I get half your retirement since we decided to focus on your plan years ago, and you'd still be responsible for the majority of the kids' college expenses. You can't be serious, Anna. I'll file under adultery and get. You should really familiarize yourself with the family law statutes in our state. Adultery isn't even grounds for divorce here. Our assets will be split 50-50. Once Kevin finishes school and turns 18, the house will be sold and the equity split between us. Now, knowing the financial and psychological costs to the kids, is that what you want for us? All because I'm asking for one weekend with another man. Yes, that's exactly what I'm willing to do, you foolish woman, he growled, reacting to her ultimatum. Nevada, listen to me very carefully. I could file for divorce tomorrow just because I don't like the color of your shirt, and everything I just explained would still happen. There's not a damn thing you could do to stop it, so you better start cooperating. So, do I get a hall pass too? Of course not, Nevada. First of all, I never promised you one, and second, if I even catch you looking at another woman, I'll divorce you so fast you won't know what hit you. He was speechless, staring at the woman who used to be his loving wife, now standing there with a smirk and her hands on her hips. There was nothing more to be said, so he simply got up and walked away. That evening, the children noticed something was seriously wrong between their parents. They were acutely aware that their mom and dad hadn't exchanged a single word or even made eye contact all night. As bedtime approached, Nevada sat in the family room, a full glass of Jim Beam in his hand, staring blankly at the turned-off television. He was trying to comprehend what had happened to his marriage and his life in the last few hours. Anna walked by on her way upstairs and sweetly informed him that she was going to bed. About an hour later, after finishing his bourbon, Nevada headed for the master bedroom out of habit. The door was closed and locked. In over 21 years together, that had never happened before. His first instinct was to kick the door down and throw Anna out the window. Fortunately, he came to his senses, turned around, and headed back to the family room and the pull-out bed in the couch. The next morning, he awoke from a troubled sleep with a pounding headache, a dry, scratchy throat, and still wearing yesterday's wrinkled clothes. He trudged upstairs like a condemned man. When he reached the master bedroom, the door was open. The house was empty. Of course, it was Monday. The kids were at school, his wife was at work, and a quick look at his watch told him he was already an hour late for work. He quickly sent a text to his boss, informing him that he wouldn't be in for a couple of days due to a family issue. Nevada stood under scalding hot water for over 30 minutes, futilely trying to wash away the events of the previous day. Dressing took him another hour and a half because every few minutes he would stop, lost in thought, trying to piece together what had happened. He spent the rest of the morning and afternoon in a similar state of confusion. The only productive things he managed to do were scheduling an appointment with an attorney for the next day and calling the owner of the investigative company his workplace used for pre-employment and fiduciary background checks. When the kids got home, they asked what was going on. He brushed them off, saying he and their mom had a fight and everything would be fine. He told them to do their homework and not worry about it, but they were teenagers and didn't buy it for a second. Scarlett just gave him a hard stare, then shook her head and walked away. Around 4 o'clock, his phone rang. It was Anna. He let it go to voicemail. When he listened to the message, he was astounded. "Hi, honey, it's me. If you get home before I do, don't start dinner. I'll bring pizza from Antonio's on my way back. I love you, bye-bye." Her voice had a pleasant lilt, like she didn't have a care in the world. Contrary to his wife, Nevada felt like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. He spent the rest of the afternoon in his recliner, again with his good friend JG. He didn't want to get drunk because, in that state, he didn't trust himself around Anna. On the other hand, he couldn't face her sober either, so he settled for a slight buzz and a warm glow in his stomach. He struggled to understand his emotions, swinging between rage, shock, disbelief, and an overwhelming sadness. In the end, he decided to mimic Anna's demeanor, at least until he spoke with the attorney in the morning. Besides, the kids were already on edge, and there was no point in making it worse. When Anna burst into the house carrying pizza, she was all smiles and happiness. She maintained this facade through dinner and the rest of the evening. So, Nevada acted accordingly. They carried on their usual pleasant conversations as if yesterday had never happened. It seemed like William and Kevin accepted that everything was all right, but Nevada sensed that Scarlett didn't. She would stare at both her mother and father, looking for signs of underlying discord. Once the kids were upstairs in their rooms, likely engrossed in their various electronic devices, Nevada retreated to his chair with another glass of bourbon. When the kids were younger, he and Anna had practically policed their internet access, but now they figured it was better not to know what their teenagers were up to. Besides, he was the account holder for their bundled services, which included a feature that allowed him to monitor everyone's activity. Wait, he had access to everything everyone was doing. Just as he was about to jump out of his chair and race to his computer, Anna practically bounced into the family room and jumped onto his lap, giving him a peck on the lips. See, that wasn't that hard, was it, Nevada? A dark, angry cloud passed over his face, but he let his indignation go, reminded of his attorney's warning. You know, Anna, you never really answered my question last night. I can't believe this was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Tell me why now. Anna, convinced she had the upper hand and was firmly in control of the situation, simply told him the truth. The part about me being terrified of getting older is true. It's the biggest part of why I have to do this for myself. But there's also a gentleman at work. Well, he and I have kind of made a connection. We've been talking and decided mutually that we would have one weekend together. Oh, and by the way, it will be next weekend. Nevada noticeably stiffened, almost throwing Anna off his lap. Now quit acting like an adolescent and come to bed and make love to me. I'm sorry about locking you out of the bedroom last night, but I needed to reinforce what you would be giving up in a divorce. She looked at him hopefully. Who is it, Anna? That isn't any of your concern. Now forget all that and let's go to bed. She pulled him up out of his chair and led him upstairs. Nevada went along with it because he didn't think anything would be gained by more arguing. He was in bed first, and Anna came out of the bathroom wearing nothing but her best smile. Damn, she was still one fine-looking woman. It's a shame it all has to come to such an ugly ending. Sorry, Anna, it isn't happening tonight, he thought as he rolled away from her side of the bed. Suit yourself, spoil sport, but you won't be able to turn me away for very long. I know how horny you are, she said in an artificially pouting voice. Nevada realized she was probably right. Maybe he should reconsider because the odds favored a long dry spell ahead. His pride, however, wouldn't allow it. What a waste. He pretended to be asleep until he was confident Anna had drifted off. Then he got on his computer. He didn't need a PI license to find the information he sought. The man's name was Robert Brown. Nevada had actually met him once at a company dinner, but it was an innocuous encounter. He made a mental note to pass along the details to the investigators in the morning. Tuesday morning felt ordinary except for the death stares from Scarlett as everyone rushed out of the house, Nevada included. But instead of heading to work, he was on his way to the family law office of Ms. Area King. After the introductory pleasantries and a declined offer of coffee, they got down to business. Nevada relayed everything in detail to Ms. King, including his hiring of investigators and the reasons behind it. He also provided her with Robert Brown's name. When he finished, she asked a few clarifying questions. She was silent for a few moments, chewing on the end of her pen and tapping her toe against her desk. Then she began explaining the realities of living in a no-fault state, and it wasn't a pretty picture. An exasperated Nevada asked, "Ms. King, why am I the one getting screwed in this process? I mean, she's the one wrecking our family." That's a difficult question for me to answer, she admitted. The no-fault laws weren't designed to purposely disadvantage husbands and fathers. And you have to remember, despite this being the 21st century, I still see a lot more cheated-on wives and mothers across from me than the other way around. The primary goal in a no-fault state is to protect the interests of any children involved. Secondly, it simplifies the process tremendously. I don't want to offend you, but why should the state get intimately involved in a couple's marriage just because they can't handle their own issues and one wants to blame the other? However, your wife might be mistaken about the custody issue. If you and your wife can't reach a joint custody agreement, the court might allow your children to choose which parent to live with based on their ages. Keep in mind, though, that in most cases, custody tends to go to the mother. Scarlett is 18, so she can choose whatever she wants without the court's jurisdiction. Yeah, well, it still makes me furious. I'm warning you, Mr. Smith, don't do anything reckless. What your wife told you is the best case scenario in a divorce. It will get much worse if you threaten or commit any violence against her or Mr. Brown. Also, if your PI firm does anything illegal, you could be held civilly liable for their actions, so tread carefully. You can provide any legally obtained evidence of her husband's infidelity to Mrs. Brown. There's no law against that, but the key word here is legally obtained. I will have the papers ready to be served to your wife at work on Monday morning. I can make it very public and embarrassing, but I assure you that will be the only satisfaction you'll get from this whole process. I apologize for being so blunt. Are you sure you still want to go forward with this? Yes, do it. I will not live with what she is doing. Mr. Smith, you're either the bravest or the most foolish man I've ever met. Time will tell. Is your wife the vindictive type? Well, up until a few days ago, I would have said no, but now I'm not so sure. Okay, this is what you need to do to protect yourself and your finances, and you need to have it done by Monday morning. It isn't as complicated as it seems, but it will take some time. Start today with tasks that won't be noticed, but wait until Monday for those that will. She handed him a list and went over its contents in detail. Unless I hear otherwise, I'll have her served at 11:00 a.m. on Monday. Finally, as a reminder, do not under any circumstances get into even a verbal altercation with your wife between now and Monday. It will only complicate things for you. Again, do not do anything foolish. I will drop you as a client immediately if you so much as sneeze on her. You act like you expect me to do something stupid. I'm sorry, Nevada, but you're a man, so you aren't that smart. Usually by now, the cheated on husband is either blubbering like a baby or plotting his revenge. You are way too calm about this, and frankly, it's scaring the shit out of me. I truly hope this works out for you. She almost sounded human for a moment. She stood and shook his hand. Good luck, Mr. Smith. I'll be in touch. As Nevada drove home, he questioned why he felt so calm. He concluded it was because he had committed to a course of action. He had no illusions about the difficulties he'd face, or how much the divorce would impact his children, but he was confident he was doing the right thing. It no longer mattered to him whether Anna went through with her affair or not. He couldn't remain married to her. In his mind, Anna had wrecked their family, not him, so there was nothing left to be nervous or unsure about. Nevada took his lawyer's warning seriously and was nothing but pleasant to Anna for the rest of the week. He was proud of his acting skills. However, he couldn't bring himself to make love to her. Anna tried everything to seduce him, even jokingly accusing him of being gay at one point, but it was to no avail. He managed to put her off by telling her he would consider it once this was all over. Anna took this as a positive sign, assuming he meant after her weekend tryst, and nothing more was said until Friday night. Nevada, I'm leaving now. He ignored her, wrestling with himself over whether to make one last attempt to stop her, but ultimately decided against it. Goodbye, Anna. He said it firmly and with such finality that she missed entirely. Relax, sweetheart. I'll be home Sunday evening, and then I promise it'll be over. I'll be your loving and faithful wife for the next 21 years. She laughed cheerfully and walked out the door. Nevada closed his eyes for a moment, sighed, took another swallow of his drink, and prepared to move on with his life. He looked toward the doorway and saw Scarlett standing there, tears streaming down her cheeks. You heard that, didn't you? Yes, Daddy, I did. But I knew before because last week I overheard a phone call Mom was on. What are you going to do? Come, sit down. Let's talk about it. He moved to the couch and patted the cushion next to him. I'm sorry to be so direct, sweetheart, but I'm filing for divorce. Your mother will be served on Monday. She sat down next to him, now crying more openly. I guess there really isn't any other way to handle it, is there, Dad? No, there isn't, baby. I'm sorry it's going to be so hard on all of us. How do you think your brothers will handle it? Honestly, Dad, they're teenage boys. As long as their food supply isn't interrupted, they'll be fine. What about you, Dad? Will you be okay? No, sweetie, I won't be. I'm so sorry this is happening to you, Dad. I love you and will help you get through this, I promise. She squeezed him as hard as she could and started weeping gently onto his shoulder. I promise. Saturday morning, Nevada told William and Kevin what was happening. They were understandably saddened. Kevin asked where they would live, and Nevada told them it would probably be with their mother, right in their current home. William stood up and said, "Well, that's probably for the best because Mom is a much better cook than you anyway," and he headed to his room with his brother. At least he was smiling when he said it. Nevada gave a sardonic laugh and became lost in his thoughts again. Later in the evening, around 9:30, with the boys fully ensconced in their rooms, Scarlett came back downstairs to talk with her dad. "Dad, please don't think I'm being selfish with this, but do you think I will still be able to go to USC in the fall semester?" "Yes, baby, I'm sure. You might need to pick up a part-time job at some point to help out, but somehow your mother and I will make sure you get to go. I promise." "Dad, why is she doing this to us? I can't believe my mother would do something like this to her own family." Scarlett was teary-eyed and very emotional. I mean, a hall pass. Why would she think that is okay? "You know, sweetie, when she first approached me with this, I really thought it was about the promise I made her on our wedding day. But then I realized it was just an excuse she was offering to justify something she would have done anyway. That's the part that really ended our marriage. If she didn't have the hall pass excuse, it probably would have been the 'if you really loved me' justification. She was going to do it regardless. Excuse my language, Dad, but that is so damning." Nevada laughed, then got serious. "Listen, Scarlett, I want to tell you something. I'm not sure why, but I think I owe this to you. In the 21 years we have been married, I have never, not once, even come close to cheating on your mother. I don't think men by nature are monogamous, so that is the most precious gift a husband can give to his wife. I just assumed your mom felt the same way. Promise me something, honey. Don't ever marry a man if you have any doubts about his ability to be faithful to you. You shouldn't marry if you have any doubts about yourself either." Nevada was lost in his own thoughts for a second. I guess in retrospect, I should have taken my own advice. Your mom told me, albeit only 30 minutes before the wedding, that she had her doubts about her ability to be faithful. I ignored it. Maybe I should have just walked away at that point. The only problem with that is, then I wouldn't have you or your two hungry brothers. So I can't say that I wasted the last 20+ years of my life, but her betrayal still cuts like a knife. Just then, the front doorbell rang. Nevada stood up to answer it, with Scarlett trailing behind him. When he opened the door, he saw 2 uniformed police officers standing on the porch. "Sorry to disturb you, sir. Are you Nevada Smith?" "Yes, officer. Is there an issue?" "Who is the young lady with you?" "That's my daughter, Scarlett." "It might be better if we spoke alone, sir." Nevada had an uneasy feeling, sensing it had something to do with Anna. He felt Scarlett, as an adult, had the right to hear whatever was coming. "She's an adult, officer. I'd like her to stay." "Okay. I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. Smith, that your wife was severely injured tonight. She is currently at Memorial Hospital in surgery. It is imperative that you go to the hospital immediately." "Oh my God!" Scarlett gasped from behind Nevada. "Was she in an accident?" "No, sir. It was a crime. I really can't tell you any more about it. However, there are detectives at the hospital waiting to talk with you. Good evening, sir." With that, they walked back to their patrol car. Nevada turned to face Scarlett, who had her hands over her mouth and eyes wide with fear. "Sweetheart, you're coming to the hospital with me. Go tell your brothers that we're going out for a while, but don't tell them where and why just yet. I want more information first." Scarlett sprinted up the stairs 2 steps at a time. 5 minutes later, they were on their way. Upon arriving at the hospital, they were immediately directed to the waiting area by hospital security, who informed them that a doctor would be in to see them shortly. Both Nevada and Scarlett were stunned. Confusion and anxiety are normal conditions for relatives of loved ones in their situation, and the minutes crawled by like hours. "Mr. Smith?" asked a tall, exhausted-looking man in an equally tired-looking suit. Nevada looked up and saw two men who were obviously the detectives the uniformed officers had mentioned. "That's me, and this is my daughter Scarlett. Whatever you have to say to me, you can say to her." "No, sir, I can't. My name is Detective Lieutenant Rodriguez." He quickly flipped open and closed his wallet badge, returning it to his coat pocket. "I need to speak with you alone. Please come with me now. My partner, Detective Bottle, will talk with your daughter." Nevada followed Rodriguez to a quiet part of the hallway. Without preamble, Lieutenant Rodriguez asked him where he was around 8 o'clock tonight. "I was at home with my daughter, talking. My two sons were also there with us." Nevada wasn't a fool. He knew exactly why Rodriguez was asking that question. "What was your wife doing with?" He paused and looked at his notes. "With Mr. Robert Brown?" For a brief moment, Nevada thought about lying to the detective to minimize embarrassment to the family, but then surmised, damn it, she made her bed, she can lie in it. He sighed sadly and told Rodriguez Brown is her boyfriend, and the two of them were spending the weekend together. He practically spat it out, disgusted and becoming angrier by the minute at his wife. The fact that his phone was constantly vibrating in his pocket wasn't helping his mood either. Lieutenant Rodriguez didn't even blink. "We figured it was something like that, so I guess you understand why I'm talking with you." "Yes, sir, I do, but I had nothing to do with anything that happened to them." "What did happen?" "They were leaving a restaurant and were attacked by two unknown assailants. Both were severely beaten with what appeared to be baseball bats." "I'm guessing your daughter will corroborate your story, but we'll definitely be talking with you again in a more formal setting. If you don't currently have an attorney, I strongly suggest you find one." Rodriguez handed Nevada a business card and left without any further comment. Holy shit, this must be bad, Nevada thought as he headed back to be with Scarlett. Scarlett was in tears and jumped up to hug Nevada when he returned. "Daddy, what is going on? I'm so scared right now. The man asked me where you were earlier. They think you had something to do with what happened to Mom, don't they?" "Honey, your mother and her boy toy must be hurt very badly. And yes, the police think I had something to do with it. Where are the doctors? We really need to find out what is going on." Nevada's anger kept rising, and he was worried that he would lose control soon. He needed to stay calm if for no other reason than to prevent Scarlett from breaking down completely. A few minutes later, a short, somewhat rotund woman in blood-splattered surgical garb came into the room and identified herself as Dr. Mason. "I was the primary trauma surgeon working on your wife. She is stable now, but it was a very close thing." "Jesus. Doctor, please tell me. What's wrong with my mother? Is she going to be all right?" Cut in a traumatized Scarlett. "Tell me what is going on." "Mr. Smith, Ms. Smith, Anna was severely beaten. The most serious injury, which needed immediate surgery, was a fractured skull. There was significant swelling of the brain caused by the injury, and we needed to relieve that pressure stat." "Oh my God." Scarlett had lost it completely by now and was seated with her head in her hands, crying hysterically. Dr. Mason focused her attention on Nevada. "Mr. Smith, I'm sorry to be so blunt, but that isn't her only serious injury. She has two fractured vertebrae in her lower back. We refer to them as the lumbar or L4 and L5 vertebrae. We don't think there was too much damage to the spinal cord or the nerve roots associated with them, but we can't be positive until the swelling recedes and we get a better look. It's highly likely she will need surgery there." She also has an assortment of other injuries, including broken ulna and radius bones in her right arm. The forensic team would call that a defensive injury, probably caused as she tried to block the blows to her head. There are a myriad of other injuries that aren't nearly as serious. I'm not telling you this to be salacious, but to prepare you for the extensive care your wife will need after what will be a rather lengthy hospital stay. Scarlett just wailed louder and louder as Dr. Mason listed her mother's injuries. "Can we see her?" "There really isn't any point. She has been placed in a medically induced coma to try to reduce the swelling in her brain, and she will likely be unconscious for several days. My best advice is to check in with the ICU before you leave tonight and give them your contact information so they can provide you with any updates on her condition. I'm very sorry, sir." With that, she was gone. He and Scarlett did as the doctor had instructed and then headed home. It was after midnight, but they woke the boys and called them down to relate what had happened. To say they were in shock would have been a massive understatement. Nevada thought that perhaps something was wrong with him because he felt absolutely no sorrow about what had happened to his wife. Maybe it was a defense mechanism, but he thought that given the circumstances, he should have felt more emotion. The 3 children were traumatized and inconsolable. Why wasn't he? He knew the answer. His anger at what his wife had done to their family overwhelmed every other emotion he had. She did this to herself. The blame was all on her. He had a lot of decisions to make about his next steps, but they could wait. He remembered the phone calls to his cell and checked it. The voicemail was full, and every call was from the same number. It was his PI. In all the excitement, he had forgotten about the fact he had contracted them to do sub-rosa surveillance all weekend on his wife's activities. Despite the late hour, Nevada called Jacob Adams, the owner of the PI firm. Adams answered on the first ring. Without any preamble, Jacob Adams spoke with venom. "Listen carefully, Mr. Smith. If I find out that you had anything to do with what transpired tonight, I will personally kill you. Do you understand me?" Whoa, Jacob. I had nothing to do with it. Do you really think I would hire you to watch me attack my own wife? It's happened before and more than once. It's not an uncommon misdirection technique. Jesus, what a mess. Listen, Mr. Smith, to cut to the chase. Yes, they were making love together, but that's really not my reason for trying to reach you. I have excellent footage of the whole attack from my team following them at the time. In fact, I think we can provide clues to the identity of the attackers to the police. I am obligated by law to turn everything I have over to the authorities ASAP, but I wanted you to know in advance. Shit, I forgot to mention you guys to the detective who spoke to me at the hospital. Damn it, that won't look good. Listen, Jacob, let me reach Detective Rodriguez and give him your contact info. I will do it as soon as we hang up. Okay, but if I don't hear from him shortly, I'm going to the police myself with everything I have. I'm not losing my license for you, so make the call now. My first statement still stands, Mr. Smith. And he disconnected. Shit, this just keeps getting worse, Nevada muttered to himself. He fished Rodriguez's business card out of his pocket and called the cell number listed on it, expecting to get voicemail. Rodriguez answered right away. Detective, this is Nevada Smith. We talked earlier tonight at the hospital. I know who you are, Mr. Smith. Why are you calling? Rodriguez sounded weary and suspicious, as if expecting another excuse. I have to tell you something and give you some information. I'm afraid it won't look good for me, but it is the truth. I'm a busy man, Smith. What is it? I forgot to tell you something important. I hired a PI firm to follow my wife this weekend. Rodriguez audibly exhaled and uttered something Nevada couldn't decipher. Yes, well, I just got off the phone with Jacob Adams. I know Jacob. Well, he told me that he had video, audio, and eyewitness information regarding the attack on my wife and her friend. He said it could probably help identify the attackers. Do you need his number? No, I have it. Good night, Mr. Smith. And just like that, the call ended. Rodriguez's abruptness was surprising, but not shocking. Years on the job had likely hardened him to anything unexpected. Sunday was spent with Nevada and his children in a semi-conscious state of mind. He called the hospital a few times for updates, but they finally told him to stop calling and assured him they would contact him with any changes to his wife's condition. They also said there was no point in coming to visit, as they wouldn't even be allowed into Anna's room. First thing Monday morning, Nevada called Area King to update his attorney on what was going on. Bad news must travel fast, because before he could explain the reason for his call. God damn it, Mr. Smith, I told you not to do anything stupid. If you had anything to do with this, so help me. Nevada angrily interrupted. I'm getting tired of people accusing me, Ms. King. I had nothing to do with it. You have to believe me. Nevada didn't think she really did believe him, but he told her what he wanted done anyway. Wow, I've been in this business a long time, Mr. Smith, and this is a first for me. I just want to make sure I understand you completely. You still want to go forward with the divorce, but you only want to delay service on your wife until she regains consciousness. You want her served in the hospital. Excuse me for saying it, but you are one cold-blooded man. Maybe, but it is no more cold-blooded than what she did to me. So will you do it? Yes, you're the client. Just let me know when. To change the subject, Mr. Smith, I believe you might be in need of a criminal defense attorney. I don't do that type of work myself, but I know a couple of good ones. Do you want their numbers? I guess I better. And he copied down a couple of names and numbers she read off to him. Nevada really started to worry when his 3 children, who had skipped out early from school, came to him in the afternoon. No one said anything, but he knew why they were all there staring at him. Guys, you have to trust me. I had nothing to do with it. I promise you. Nevada broke down at that point. All 3 of the kids hugged him and cried along with him. At least he was almost sure they believed him. Nevada was now sweating bullets. This could get really ugly for him once Anna's family found out about it. Fortunately for him, they didn't live locally, but still. He supposed he had to call her parents, which he did, but it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. He pulled no punches. He laid out everything for them and didn't sugarcoat anything. Her father started in on him, but Nevada just hung up the phone and refused to answer any subsequent calls. The numerous voicemails her parents left were accusatory and threatening. I guess maybe I should have just cost him his $25,000. Nevada was convinced he'd better call one of the attorneys whose names he got from his attorney before things got too far out of hand. He was getting ready to do just that when Detective Rodriguez showed up at his doorstep. Mr. Smith, I have just one question for you. Did you tell Mrs. Brown about her husband and your wife's affair? No, sir, I did not. However, true confession time. I did find out who her friend was and that he was married. I had every intention of giving Mrs. Brown the PI's information to try and ruin that prick's life too. Detective Rodriguez actually smiled a bit as he spoke. Yeah, I suppose I'd have done the same thing. Besides, Adams told us what his marching orders were. Listen, Mr. Smith, it looks like you're off the hook. Adams was right. The evidence he gave us led us to the perpetrators of the assault. They're in custody, and they both confessed. Seriously, who did it? Well, I shouldn't say, but shit, it's going to be all over the news by tomorrow anyway. It was Mrs. Brown and her brother. Damn, how did she find out? The same way you did. He told her what he was going to do. Apparently, this was the 3rd time he pulled this trick. He loved to rub her nose in his infidelities for some perverted reason, and I guess she just couldn't take it anymore. So she told her brother, who has a rather lengthy rap sheet of violent crimes, and together they came up with the plan. I guess Brown didn't have a hall pass. Hey, out of morbid curiosity, can you tell me about his condition? Nope, sorry, I can't do that. The only thing I can tell you is that it was the brother's job to work over the Mr. and Mrs. Browns to take care of your wife. The brother is much bigger and stronger than the Mrs. Although, to be fair, the wife used a heavier bat than her brother. Anyway, I am truly sorry for your troubles. I won't bother you anymore. Good afternoon. The sense of relief Nevada felt was immeasurable. He collapsed into his recliner to catch his breath and found himself shaking all over. He wondered what his life would have been like over the next several weeks if he hadn't had his wife followed. It was too frightening to dwell on. His relief at no longer being a suspect did nothing to assuage his anger at Anna, though. The next few weeks were a blur. Detective Rodriguez was right. The story was all over the local news, playing for days. Nevada returned to work and the kids to school, which was close to ending for summer break. Around the same time, he received a call from the hospital informing him that his wife had regained consciousness and was asking about her family, wanting to see everyone. The charge nurse said she could have one visitor at a time and warned him that she might experience confusion and have a lot of memory gaps. Nevada decided to visit her alone without telling the kids. He had 2 reasons. First and foremost, he wanted to talk with her privately. Secondly, he wanted to ensure that their mother's physical condition wouldn't traumatize them too badly. When he arrived at the hospital, even he was shocked at Anna's condition. There were machines, tubes, casts, and bandages all over her. The parts of her he could see, including her face, were still pretty much covered in bruises. He wasn't sure if the bruising was from the beating or the 3 surgeries she had now undergone, but she could talk. Even though he had been prepped by the nurses, stepping into Anna's room took his breath away. Never mind the injuries, Anna, who had always been a voluptuous woman, now looked emaciated. It was quite disturbing, and he wasn't sure the kids should see her like this. Screw it, they were old enough. It would serve her right anyway. She heard him come in and turned her head slightly towards him. She didn't speak but had tears in her eyes. She could only wipe them away with her left hand, as her right was still immobilized. Damn, Anna, you look like shit. The next time you use a hall pass, you better make sure your lover has one too. He knew he was being petty, but it made him feel better, and he just didn't care. At any rate, his number one emotion was still anger. She croaked out, "I'm sorry," in a barely audible voice. "Yes, you are. Listen, Anna, I don't want to be here any longer than I have to. As soon as you are out of ICU, I am having you served for divorce. I'd do it sooner, but the hospital won't allow it. I'll have the kids come by. They are anxious to see you. Right now, I am too busy thinking about how to avoid financial ruin to worry about your health. Somehow I'll figure it out, though. You know, thanks to you, Scarlett won't be able to go to USC now because of all the damn hospital bills. You did this, Anna. You destroyed your marriage and the financial security of your family. So no, I don't feel one bit sorry for you, so get lost. Couldn't you be a little more understanding, Nevada? I'm hurting, and I'm sorry, and I want to find a way to put our marriage back together. I love you." She could only speak in a hoarse whisper. "Too little, too late, dear. That's never going to happen. I'm so pissed off at you for what you've done to us. It's taking all my restraint to remain civil. Goodbye, Anna." He turned and walked out. He never returned to the hospital. At the dinner table several days later, Nevada spoke up. "Kids, time for a family meeting. Your mom is being moved out of ICU tomorrow, and I am having the divorce papers served on her." "Dad, you can't be serious. You're going to have the divorce papers served on Mom in the hospital. It cannot be that cruel." "It has nothing to do with cruelty, Scarlett. It has to do with timing and trying to keep from filing bankruptcy. You all want to keep living in this house, right? You want to go to college. Well, we have to make some serious sacrifices to make those things possible. You see, I've checked with lawyers in the hospital, and this is the way it is. Your mom has her own insurance, but it doesn't matter if we are getting divorced. Because we were married when the bills were incurred, I am still as much responsible for what her insurance won't cover as she is. And trust me, the uncovered portion will be huge. That won't change until the divorce is finalized. In addition, we do not have any long-term care insurance, so that's where her real expenses will be incurred. I need to get the divorce done as soon as possible to minimize the long-term financial impact on our family. I'm sorry, but that is the hard truth of the matter. I have one attorney looking into the possibility of suing your mother's boyfriend to recover costs, but I suspect it won't go very far. His medical expenses will far exceed your mom's, so that's probably a non-starter. Plus, his wife is divorcing him anyway, although I'm not sure how she will accomplish that from prison. Another thing, though, I have been meeting with your mom's medical staff, and we have to have a serious talk about your mom's condition. He had all 3 of their undivided attention at this point. There's a very real chance your mother might be wheelchair-bound for a long time, possibly for the rest of her life. Due to the brain damage she sustained, she may never be able to fully care for herself again. At the very least, she'll need home nursing care for several years. She's facing months of rehab and years of physical therapy along with other procedures. The children were horrified but not particularly surprised. They had seen her condition firsthand during their visits. "So, this is what we're going to do," Nevada continued, speaking for about 20 minutes to outline his plans. By the end, the kids agreed it was probably the only reasonable course of action. When he was finished, Scarlett spoke sadly. "I guess USC isn't in my future, is it, Dad?" "No, honey, it isn't. But I promise you can go to state. It's a lot cheaper, and there are more grants and scholarships you can apply for to offset the cost. Also, I know you want to help your mom, so instead of being 1,000 miles away, you'll only be 30 minutes away. You can stay at home to avoid dorm costs too. I know, Dad. It'll all work out for the best. 5 years later. You know I love you, Dad, but you've lost your humanity. There's a big hole where your soul used to be. Listen to me, Scarlett. Every time I think I'm getting over it, as you say I should, another hospital bill arrives that I'm still responsible for. 20% of my wages are garnished every week to pay off civil judgments against us. We're hopelessly behind on the house payments, but at least I homesteaded it with Area's help, so they can't evict us for quite a while. In the meantime, I'm trying to restructure the mortgage to stave off the inevitable. Area even does most of her work for us pro bono. Your brother William skipped college and joined the service. Every month, he sends half his paycheck home to help out. Do you know what he told me when he enlisted? He said one of his reasons was so that we wouldn't have the cost of feeding him any longer. Your brother Kevin has a part-time job flipping burgers and signs his entire paycheck over to me each week to do his part. And look at you. This should be the time of your life, but you still haven't finished college because you had to go part-time. Every spare moment you have is dedicated to caring for your mom instead of being out having fun. The grass in the front yard is 2 feet high because I can't afford to fix the lawnmower. I'm surprised the neighbors haven't started a petition to the HOA to get us kicked out. I make a 6-figure income, and we are on food stamps. Every week, I beg every nonprofit and public assistance office to find more money for your mom's care. We have one 10-year-old beat-up car between us, held together by chewing gum and baling wire. If you feel that way, why do you even let her live with us? You haven't said a civil word to Mom in over 4 years. You haven't even looked at her. If she comes into the same room, you leave. It's like she's a recluse in her own home. It doesn't make any sense. There are several reasons, really. No matter what she did, she is still your and your brother's mother. And as you know, you're all involved in her care to some extent, even all these years later. Secondly, my motivation is revenge. She gets to see the loving interaction between Nora and me every day of her life. Every single day, she is reminded of what she gave up just to try out anew. The vindictive part of me still surfaces now and then, and I want to force Anna to sit in a chair in our bedroom and watch Nora and me making love on what used to be her bed. I would do it too, except I'm pretty sure Nora would kick my ass out of the house. All that aside, the real reason is to save money. Assisted living care can cost as much as $7,000 a month. She obviously couldn't afford that, even with government assistance. Do you want your mom living in one of those privately run assisted living homes? You saw what they are like. And to be clear, this isn't her home any longer. I just allow her to stay because I don't want your mother dying in a cardboard box under a freeway overpass. No, Scarlett, your mother burned all the compassion out of me. Maybe I'm part of the Walking Dead, but there is nothing I can do about it. You're wrong, Dad. You do have compassion left in you. I'm sure Nora wouldn't have married you if you didn't. She and I talk a lot, and we're worried about you. It's been 5 years, and there's still so much anger in you. It's scary. You have to let your bitterness go, and somehow work your way through all that. I want my dad back. She was teary-eyed and deeply saddened. You can't go on like this. You have a beautiful new wife and a family around you. Focus on the future, not the past. I'm begging you. It's not for her. She did what she did, and she is who she is. Don't you think she's paid a high enough price for one stupid decision 5 years ago? No, I don't. For God's sake, Dad, she lost everything dear to her, and she's crippled for life. Isn't that enough for you? Listen to yourself. Scarlett walked away, shaking her head in disgust. On an intellectual level, Nevada knew his daughter was right. Nora had been after him about the same issue. He had a strong suspicion they were planning an intervention soon. Yet he couldn't see a way out. He had hypertension and was on medication, and he'd gained 20 pounds. How do you gain 20 pounds when you can't even afford to eat? His doctor had warned him about his worsening ulcers. His wrath frequently kept him awake at night. Sometimes he wondered if his family would be better off if he just died. At least he had a $500,000 life insurance policy that could help pay off the bills. Of course, he was behind on those payments too. Later that evening, as they lay in bed, Nora broached the subject again. They had just finished a satisfying round of lovemaking, and as was their habit, Nora lay with her head on his shoulder, idly running her fingers through the thick hair on his chest. This was the only time Nevada had any peace. He was so grateful to have met Nora at his wife's rehab facility. He understood that without her love and support, he would have fallen apart. Nevada, sweetheart, I spoke to Scarlett today, and just to be clear, if you ever even hint at having Anna watch us in bed, I will castrate you with a rusty knife. She said it casually, but her meaning wasn't lost on him. She had grown up in a tough neighborhood, so he was pretty sure she was capable of doing it. I know. My anger was getting the better of me, and... Nevada, I don't care about that. I've tried my best to help you, and it hasn't been enough. I'm tired of trying and tired of only getting part of you in return. How do you think it makes me feel? To me, your anger is a constant reminder that you aren't over Anna. What? That isn't true at all. Why would you even think that? Just let me talk, Nevada. It's more like you aren't over what Anna did to you. She stopped stroking his chest and laid her palm flat over his heart. I'll wait for a few more months, but I can't go on this way. If you won't give me all of you soon, I will leave. I give much more than I get from you. It isn't fair. I even helped take care of your ex-wife. I have earned better from you. She wasn't angry. She didn't raise her voice. She was just incredibly sad. When I first saw you at the rehab facility, I felt an instant attraction. I'd never seen anyone in so much pain. As we got to know each other, I could see how much you loved your family. You had problems and a lot of pent-up anger, but I knew you were a kind, decent man. We've been married over 2 years, Nevada, and your issues haven't improved. If anything, they have gotten worse. Please don't think I'm giving you ultimatums like Anna, but I can't go on like this. It hurts too much. I need you to do something to bring back the man I fell in love with. Nora, please, I'll try. Don't even think about leaving. I'd be lost without you. I don't like the person I am either, but I don't know what to do. I tried counseling. Hell, I even tried drinking, but neither worked. Tell me what I can do. It's really pretty simple, Nevada. There's an ancient Chinese proverb that says, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. What the hell does that mean, really? It means just start by being nicer. With that, Nora patted him on the chest, kissed him lightly on the lips, and got out of bed to take a shower. He loved the way she smelled and never wanted it to go away. Nevada was frustrated and considered lashing out at Nora for being so vague, but he wisely decided against it. Start by being nicer. What a load of crap. Yet he knew he had to do something. He couldn't risk losing Nora. She was the only thing keeping him from stepping into the abyss. 2 days later, Nevada was no closer to resolving his problems. Nora and Scarlett both acted the same as they always had, and nothing more was said about their conversations. He was looking forward to this evening's Sunday night dinner because William had a weekend pass and was able to join the family. Nevada and his sons enjoyed a drink and quiet conversation while Nora and Scarlett prepared dinner. Guys, dinner is ready, Nora called out. They all made their way to the dining room and headed for their usual spots. Isn't it funny how families always have assigned seating for meals? Nevada and Nora always sat at opposite heads of the table, the boys on the left and Scarlett on the right next to Nora. Nevada noticed there were 6 settings instead of 5. He assumed one of the kids had a guest coming, which happened often, even though Nevada bitched about the added cost. That's when he saw Scarlett leading Anna, still using a cane to get around, into the dining room. His instinct was to get up and leave, but Scarlett pushed him back down into his seat. She helped Anna sit in the chair next to him and then took her own seat. Anna never joined them for meals. Nevada had demanded it be that way. You could have heard a pin drop. Nevada felt his face flush as his anger started to bubble over once again. He saw his entire family staring at him, and Anna was just looking down at her plate. Thanks for inviting me to join you for dinner, Nevada. Anna's speech control was still one of the many issues she was dealing with. He didn't fully understand it, But the doctors had told him in layman's terms that the head trauma had created a disconnect between her brain and vocal cords. She had been working with a speech therapist for a couple of years, and it was gradually improving. Nevada stared ruthlessly, his eyes shooting daggers at Nora, then Scarlett. He now knew this was the intervention he had been anticipating. Their eye contact never broke from his. They were as resolute as he was. He just gave a slight shake of his head. Just start by being nicer. I'm glad you could join us tonight, Anna. I noticed that your speech is improving. Yes, it is I think. Nevada reached over and gave Anna a quick pat on the hand and a brief smile. He felt his anger starting to melt away. He looked around the table at the co-conspirators. Nevada couldn't be sure if they were smiling at him or giving him an "I told you so" smirk. Except for William, who obviously wasn't in on it because he sat frozen in place with a fork full of food halfway to his mouth, his eyes wide with shock at what just took place. In fact, no one was talking or moving. Nora broke the uncomfortable silence. You know, Anna, now that you'll be joining us regularly for meals, I think it's time you helped us prepare them. Nora looked at Nevada with an expression that screamed, "Go ahead, I dare you. I know you used to love cooking. You seem to be moving about quite well. What do you think? Are you up to it?" Anna didn't answer but quickly glanced at Nevada. "I think that's a great idea, Anna. You're part of the family, and everyone needs to pitch in. If you are feeling up to it, you should do it," chimed in Nevada. It was like someone flipped a light switch, and his animosity was gone. Just start by being nicer. Tears welled up in her eyes as she reached over and placed her hand gently on Nevada's, and he gave it a quick squeeze in return. Oh, okay, I will. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you liked it, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.